honestly, he was going back and forth with me and another woman. And I was like, there's no way. I'm your actual wife that been with you, and I will not compete with another woman.
Welcome to the Heavy Pages podcast, a guiding light for women facing the paralyzing challenges of an unwanted separation. If you're feeling frozen by the weight of heartbreak or the uncertainty of a crumbling relationship, you're not alone. I'm Josie, your host, and a separation survival specialist, because I've been where you are, overwhelmed, emotionally stuck, and unsure of what lies ahead. But here's the truth: healing and empowerment are within your reach. Together, we'll shatter the chains of paralysis, embrace this journey, and pave the way to your new future. So it's time to step forward, find your strength, and rewrite your story. Because the pages of life can be heavy, but you don't have to turn them alone. Now, before we start today's episode, please consider taking a moment to click that subscribe button. And with that, here we go. Hello, and a warm welcome to today's chapter checkup session, where we will be hearing from another courageous woman as she shares her transformative journey from devastated to divorce. And we'll be using the 5 chapters of my program as the guide. If you're curious about these chapters and how they align with your personal journey, don't forget to visit heavypagespodcast.com for your free chapter checklist. And with that, here's today's interview. Hello, Andrea.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you coming on and being willing to share your story with me.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited. Nervous, but excited.
Of course. Nervous is normal. I still get nervous. So, okay, so tell me a little bit about you. You know, where you're from, not exact details, but what you're comfortable sharing and how old you are.
Okay. I'm from Texas, and I have 3 girls, and I'm 35 years old.
Obviously, we're chatting because you are going through a separation, not quite divorced at this point, correct?
Not quite divorced, but I like to say I'm divorced.
Okay, understandable. I don't blame you. So, how long were you married?
I was married before the separation for 7 years, and we were together for 19 years.
Wow, 19 years together, married for 7, officially married for 7.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you meet?
We met in middle school as just classmates, and then we went through middle school and then high school together. So we met back up in high school. Yes.
So like a high school sweetheart.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, and you dated, since you got married, you dated and then were together for quite a few years before you actually got married. What made you finally decide to get married?
Well, I think on his part, it was that we had gotten this car accident and he almost died. We almost did have this traumatic thing or whatever. And so I think that kind of kicked it up. And because I wasn't like, oh, let's get married. We can get married. But I knew that I didn't want any more kids until I was married because I wanted to have the same last name as them.
Okay. So are your children his children?
Yes.
Okay. And there are 3 girls.
3 girls, yeah.
And they're his. Okay. So you weren't really in a hurry to get married, but you also didn't want to have any other children until you got married. So you would have been okay not marrying, like if you guys were together but not getting married?
I think eventually I would have, because when we got into the accident, we had broken up for about 2 years right before, and we're getting back together. And so shortly after that, he proposed. And so I could have gave it a little bit more time then, but of course I've been with him all this time. I was like, well, yeah, this is the next step.
Right. He's the one and he's the father of my children. So, okay. And how was that relationship? Did you feel like once you got married, how were things? Did you feel like things were going well and moving forward and, relatively healthy? I mean, nothing's perfect, but
Right. My situation was different than I would say. So there's always been issues, some physical things that went on.
okay,
So when the actual time we just went to the courthouse, and um, I loved him and was deeply in love with him,
right.
but I knew that I probably shouldn't be getting married, but I did it anyways.
Okay. And a lot of us are in that same boat where you know, there's signs, but we kind of ignore them, or sometimes we feel like love is enough. We love them, and that should
Definitely.
be, or we hope that that's enough to
Yeah.
get us through.
Yeah.
So, okay, 7 years married. Tell me about the separation. What happened?
So after I had my last child, we're having some issues, and I just didn't want to keep going through those same issues. We've been together for this long. I just remember thinking, I'm 31 years old. We still shouldn't be having trust issues or this issues. Like, we're grown. We've been together for so long. I've committed myself to you. If I have kids, all these things. And so I wanted to change. And so I didn't want to leave. I just wanted us, okay, let's go to counseling.
Right.
Let's go ahead and put all that stuff behind us. Like, we've already, dealt and talked, and it doesn't need to be re brought up and different things. And he wasn't just willing to grow, is what I felt like now I look back on it. He just wasn't willing to grow and take those steps. And so financially it was hard, too, that so we just thought, okay, let's get out under our home, and maybe you'll be a little like less arguing and stuff because of finances. But then it just kept getting further and further away as we were in a separation.
Okay. And so it was your suggestion to separate, or his suggestion, or you both mutually agreed?
I think it was like a mutual agreement, and I think that what we thought, it wasn't like a full, let's sell our home and separate. We just thought, okay, let's sell our home. Where I had to go live with my mom and with my girls, and then he went to go live with his sister. But
Okay.
we were still doing like finances together. We were still being with each other, romantically and
Okay.
things. And then I don't know. And then we just thought that, okay, well, maybe if we um, get out from under each other for just a little bit, we'll come back. And
Okay, so it's kind of like taking some space. Like you're not broken
yeah,
up specifically. You are actually physically separated. Like he's in his
yes,
place, you're in your place, but you still consider yourselves a couple, and that you
yes,
are going to work on things and figure out a way to make the help the relationship um, get better or fix some
right.
problems. And okay, all right. So then that isn't exactly how it turned out then,
No.
or yeah, how did what happened next?
So kind of was like, I think he liked his freedom. So he like would go a weekend without calling me. And I'm like, this is, not okay. We still this and that. And then I had to move in with my mom with my three girls, and she has a two-bedroom. So it was me and my girls in one bedroom on one bed for probably over 2 months. It seemed like forever.
Sure.
And then it was, I mean, my oldest one was 15, 16 at the time. And then so it was like a teenager, and then a kid, and then a baby. Uh, and so that was hard. So then he decided that he'd go ahead and get his own place. So I was like, okay, well then I need to okay, so this is how we're moving. I need to get my own place. He got his, and then he was like, well, y'all can come stay with me. But he lived in an apartment that had a roommate. So it was like, well, that's not a thing. I have 3 girls. So yeah, so then I just got my own place, and that's how I started living life.
Okay. And so was there ever an actual conversation about, are you getting back together? Is this it? Or
Well, we just were back and forth, together or not together. I can't. He would say, "Oh, I can't do this. I just this is a lot," and so that happened for a couple years after our separation.
and basically did you just finally decide, um, you say that you like to consider yourself divorced. So did you just finally come to a point where you're like, okay, this is not working for me. I'm not going to keep waiting for you to decide to be part of the family or to bring us back together as a family? Did you cut it quits, or is it still in the process? I mean, I know how you feel, but has the conversation been had?
Oh yeah, it's done. I had decided he was going back and forth with me and another woman, and I was like, "There's no way. I'm your actual wife that been with you, and I will not compete with another woman." And so, the very last time that we were going to work it out, I didn't tell my girls because they were also like, "That's here, that's not, that's here." And he got upset about something or the other, and so I was like, "You know what? I'm done. I'm not going to take him back. I am officially done because I'm not doing this back and forth." He's done, and he doesn't talk to me for a week. I know he's with another woman, which, okay, then
Right.
and that was it. I didn't take him back. I didn't try to work on that or anything. It was
Okay.
done.
I mean, that is a very good step for you to take to give yourself the respect that you deserve. And unfortunately, if he's not willing to, he'll let you. He will string you along as you let him. Right? You'll be
Definitely.
there for the convenience. So
Yes.
okay. So I know that you had listened to the podcast of the from devastated to divorce,
Mhm.
and that you found yourself to be more in the chapter 3, which is working on the better, stronger, loved you part. You've already kind of come to terms, clearly, from what you're saying, on the from blindsided and devastated, which would be the chapter 2. You've moved on from that, and now you're working on building yourself back up, right? Is
Yes.
that kind of how you
Yes.
feel? And you did mention that the things that you're kind of struggling with in that chapter of the journey is that his life is better without you, or you feel that his life is better without you, and that he didn't or doesn't love you.
Right. So yeah, I think that I don't when I see him, I don't feel the love or the want him to love me. I don't, but he has a girlfriend that he's moved in with, that they buy this and that they whatever. And I know that I'm looking as it because I deeply loved him. I left someone that I was in love with. I didn't leave him because I fell out of love with him. I just was hoping for it would be a change and a new chapter, but it ended up just being done. And
Right,
so I wouldn't, I'm done. I wouldn't take him back. I wouldn't want him back. It's just the aftermath of it, I guess, of,
right.
you know, why would he do these things for her? And I've been asking him to do these things.
Right.
And so I do a lot of, reading about different types of men and so
Does that kind of help you, like, put him or your relationship into a better perspective?
yes, kind of lets me realize what's the truth and what's like my overthinking and the
Right,
insecurities that I have from that relationship, that it's like, okay, putting me back in perspective of real life.
right.
I
Excellent.
never
And
know what's happening behind closed doors. I just see what he chooses to show me.
absolutely.
And
And usually they love to show the best.
yeah,
They are going to highlight everything that's great, and it's exactly right. You don't know what she might be dealing with, what he might be still continuing to do with this person.
right.
But obviously, I know you have children together, but the ultimate goal is to not so much care, right? What is if he is treating her better or doing things better with her, you know, because ultimately now even though you will co-parent, he's not part of your life anymore in that sense. And so he may be doing things differently for her, but because she might be a totally different person than you, and that doesn't make you any less of a person. It just means that he couldn't deal with who you are, and you like
Correct.
who you are, right?
Right.
So if that's a him issue, not a you issue, right? So he
Correct.
might pick somebody that'll put up with more. He might pick a person that has different moral compass than you, and so okay, because you don't want to change who you are or your morals or your values for him,
Correct. Yeah. I
right?
I do feel like sometimes you outgrow people, and so that was part of it too. I was just trying to be at a different level, and I not to say this any type of negative way, but sometimes people, what I've heard is like some people are at a 4 and then someone outgrows them to a 7, but that person can't grow up to a 7. So then
Right.
they go find someone that's at a 4 with them.
Absolutely.
And so that doesn't make you, they just can't, um, they
Relate to
can't,
you.
yes.
Right. And that's a great way to see it, because then that doesn't make it like you are a problem. It just means that and it's difficult for you two because you've known each other since you were children. And of course, there's so much growth that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and your lives are going to, grow, even though you're together in different ways, and you will mature in different ways. And I assume, right, that when you've been with someone for such a young age, that it might even make it harder. For some people, they make it work great, but it might
Right.
make it harder because you're not the same person, obviously, that you were when you were 15. We
Yep.
hope that we aren't sometimes. We hope that we've been able to grow and mature and get better. And so some people don't want to grow and mature and get better. And then, that growth, it makes the situation more difficult, because in the relationship you hope that they grow with you, and then they don't, and then even more than that, you've known them for so long, so you're like, it's tough. So I
Yes.
definitely I definitely understand that. And then how are you feeling with your self-esteem and your self-worth? You're reading things. Are you reading things and watching videos and things to help boost that, or how do you feel your self-esteem is now?
Yes, it's better than what it was, for sure. I think that I didn't get a lot of
Okay.
reassurance in my marriage of the person I was, and once again, not to toot my own horn, but
Shoot
I
it,
I
girl.
feel like I'm I feel like I have a big heart, I'm genuine, I'm loyal, and all these things that I didn't realize how special I was until I came out of it. And not only by men, but people would tell me, wow, you have a big heart, or you're a great person, and friends and families and people I've been meeting along this
Right.
way of my journey. And I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, I thought I was, but he didn't
Right.
give me that validation that you think you should from your husband. And so, you know, he just made it seem like I was ordinary and I was, simple. And then come to realize, like, hey, actually, I'm pretty great. So,
That's right. Excellent. Well, that sounds definitely like you're on the right track, because, yes, you're amazing. We're all amazing in our own ways. And it always helps to have someone else give you that validation.
right.
But, the goal for us, and the goal in this particular chapter of the guide, is to do that for yourself, so that
Yes.
you don't need a man or another person to do it for you. Of course, it's always nice when someone agrees with you about how great you are. That's great. But the ultimate goal is to, do the work so that you recognize your value and you recognize your worth and you love yourself. And that way, um, when you're ready for another relationship, you know that you will only attract someone that shows you the value, shows you your value, or shows you that they value you. Because since you're so clear on your worth, you're going to make sure that that person is a quality person. And you know there's also the very strong possibility that you decide, I don't want to be with anybody else, because I have learned how to love and enjoy being by myself. I don't feel
Yeah.
I don't need somebody else to fill me.
Correct. Yeah. I don't think I had a chance to learn to love myself. I was 15 when I got pregnant and 16 when I had her, so I have always had someone else to take care of.
Right.
And yes, I do have 3 children now, but I can take that time away that I don't have to put myself to feed into him and
Exactly.
just be a wife and a mom. Now I can be and love myself, and of course I'm older and wiser, so I know what things I could do for myself instead of trying to make sure everybody else is okay. You
Right.
have to, and I don't think it's selfish, but you can say you have to be selfish for yourself sometimes.
Absolutely. If you don't have if you don't have your bucket full, you can't help anybody else, right? So you do have to take the time to take care of yourself, to love yourself, to pamper yourself, to think about yourself, so that you then have the energy, the mental energy to help other people. That's definitely not selfish at all. It's
Right.
necessary. It's necessary so you
Yes.
can be completely there for others.
Yes.
So that is good. Now, you had mentioned that you weren't sure about his feelings for you. Is that something that you feel like you've kind of come past that you're not really too concerned about his feelings about you?
No, I know that I'm not going to get the answer I want. There's no closure in him telling me anything about anything in the past and not now. I really just want to be um, good co-parents,
Right.
but that's been hard and its own issues.
Right.
But yeah, no, his, I mean, to be honest, if you let him tell it, I'm probably the worst person in this world right now. But, you know, it, there's always two sides to the story. So
Absolutely.
what he sees of me now, it doesn't matter. I just want to co-parent.
So it sounds like you are doing really good in, or very close to the end of the chapter of building up yourself and your self esteem, even though that is also an ongoing process. You always want to continue to build yourself up and remind yourself on the days that you forget or you question how good of a person you are or how much, what you're worth, that you are always reminding yourself this is an ongoing thing so that you never get to a situation where you're vulnerable to, to take less than you deserve.
Right.
But the next chapter in the guide, which is It's Over, Now What, seems like you're very close to that. Are you thinking
Yes.
about divorce, like actual physical divorce?
Oh, yes. I had actually filed last year, like November, December, probably November, but and we had got this whole court hearing and we went to court. Well, it came out to be just child visitation court. It wasn't the actual divorce. So we
Oh,
were both there thinking we're going to get a divorce, and it was just about the child custody.
okay.
And so then and that just happened July, I think. And so then they told us that we had to refile all new paperwork because now it's different forms. So now we have to file all new paperwork and all new evidence or whatever we're going to do in the divorce. And so that's in the process of getting done now.
So when you went to that, did they also establish child support and things like that? Or was it just
They
for visitation?
they did child support and child visitation,
Okay.
custody.
Okay. And is he doing what he's supposed to do in the child support situation?
No, no. Um, the financial, they just take it out of his check. So
Okay.
he assumes I got this money. I got
Right.
all this money now. And then as far as picking up, him and my youngest one, my 5-year-old, um, are the only ones that have a relationship.
Okay.
He doesn't have a relationship with my two older ones. So she'll go with him, my 5-year-old, but oh, well, I have a game Friday, so I'll pick her up Saturday morning. I don't know what he does, or, oh, well, I can't this weekend, or it's not consistent. Yeah, he was supposed to have her this weekend, and 30 minutes before 6 o'clock, he tells me that, oh, this weekend's not my weekend, it's next weekend. I'll pick her up. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't even need to argue. That's fine.
Right.
I just, okay.
And how old is the middle child?
She's 14.
Okay. And is it by her choice that she doesn't really want a relationship with him?
Yes.
You know, she's old enough to be like, I don't want to spend time with him. Okay.
Yes.
So that whole, child visitation, not sticking to the schedule can be very draining. So I can see how that can be frustrating. I had a similar situation with my ex that he always found like, oh, there's a party this weekend. Maybe I can switch with you. There was always something going on that he would like to put a little bit above having time with his son, which was very frustrating for us, I'm sure, as the moms. It's like, don't you want to be with your child? So that, and then of course it doesn't help for the child because then, they know what weekend is what weekend. They're not dumb. They know. And they're like, well, where's dad? Why isn't he here? So that's difficult. But you do not have property or anything like that. So I don't know how it is in Texas, but I would assume that it would be pretty straightforward without needing lawyers or anything, especially if child support and visitation is set up to fill out the paperwork and get it officially done.
Yes, actually, we don't have anything together. The only thing that I am thinking about putting in my divorce is for him to help me pay back the student loans because although they're in my name, we occurred that while we're together. And
for your daughter? For you, okay.
For me, yeah. No, he don't pay for nothing for my oldest one. So, because she's 19, but he don't. And then they don't have a relationship, so he doesn't do for her.
So you took out student loans. You're going to school.
I was going to school, be a nurse, and occurred student loan. So I thought about putting that in there. Partly I want to and fight that fight, and another part of me is like, you know what? I don't know if I want to fight the fight and just get divorced and be done.
Well, I mean, it can't hurt to put it in there, and then if he argues against it, you shot your shot and saw what happened, and then maybe the judge will say, well, no, we're gonna, you're gonna take a percentage of this and have to help her, cover that debt, and getting the money afterwards is where the headache really is, but at least it will be documented on papers and stuff.
And that's too, I was like, I don't know if, getting that money, it's more of just
stress.
You are responsible for it and you can choose not to take on that responsibility. But that was something we did occur together. And now all that debt's left to me. Wish I would have known better.
Well, I mean, that's it, isn't it? You live and you learn. And then
live and you learn, exactly.
If you ever come into another relationship, and you will, you're very young. I mean, I started my second long-term relationship and I was older than you. I was 37. So, and I've lived a whole nother lifetime almost, with my new partner, longer than I was with my ex-husband. So, so you've got plenty of time. The point, of course, then is to remember all these things so that you avoid the pitfalls that happened, the first time around. So I know in Florida, and it's been a while because that's where I am here in Florida, that it was $375 to file the paperwork. And since there wasn't a lot of, like, we didn't own property together, we did have a child, but the child support and all that was figured out, that it was like a filing fee, $375, something like that. We put it in, and neither of us used lawyers because there was really nothing to argue about, and it moved along pretty quickly. So if you feel like you're ready for that step to be officially divorced, it might be, that might be the closure that you get. It wouldn't be from him. It'll be from you knowing I'm officially done with this. I am released. He is just the father of my children, someone I have to co-parent with, but he's nothing else to me.
Yeah. I do feel like that divorce would bring me closure because for sure I don't want to start a relationship while I'm technically still married.
Exactly.
So that's one of my issues. But although I'm not ready for a relationship right now anyways, but for sure, like, that needs to be done. I do feel like that would be some closure there. And so
and you give it to yourself, you did this, that's something about, for me, my ex was the one who asked for the separation. I didn't want it. I worked through all of that. But at the end of the day, when it was time to get divorced, I was the one who had to file the paperwork. But I wanted that official closure. And I did feel a sense of pride in the fact that in the divorce
papers, I'm the petitioner. I'm the one who requested it. You know,
Yeah.
it's a little tiny line on a paper that I barely ever look at, but I know that I'm the one who
Yeah.
requested that. And that gives you a little bit more of, feeling of agency and control over your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would encourage that, when you're ready, maybe, 2023 is your year and you're like, you know what, this is it. Let's just officially
Oh
clean
yeah.
slate.
Yes. That's the plan, is for it to be for sure official in 2023. So
Well, I mean, it sounds like you are definitely in the right headspace. So that's really good. I'm glad to hear that. It's, as I'm sure in the beginning stages of the separation, it was difficult.
yes.
But you were able to work through that and you've gotten to a really healthy spot. It's when you have children together, they don't exit your life for quite a while, but
Yes.
it definitely gets easier to manage, and the connection and the control that they even have on you. And I say control because when you love them, there is a little bit of control there. Just that you cause yourself, because your feelings for them allow you to give them that mile when they only need an inch, you know what I mean,
Yes.
type thing.
Yes.
So it sounds like you've worked a lot through a lot of that, and that's excellent. So
Yes.
where do you see yourself? We already just said what you're going to do in 2023, but how do you see yourself in 6 months from now in the context of this, process of your from devastated to divorced journey?
Well, it would be nice if I was officially divorced in 6 months. And
Okay.
it should be simple, so hopefully, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and just a better co-parent. I'm hoping that it eventually kind of smooths itself out.
Right.
Um, but I don't put expectations on him other
Right.
than what are required. And then even then, once he falls back on something, it's like, okay, I still live my life. I've since we've been separated, I've been basically doing this, raising these children 95% of the time by myself. So
Right.
what you do or don't do doesn't stop me or stop us from plans or living or doing things or not doing things. We just have to
Excellent.
alternate, and it can be frustrating, but
Sure.
hopefully things, or in 6 months, they roll off my back a little bit more, a little easier, a little smoother. It's like, okay, whatever. Sometimes you get frustrated and you just want to, ah,
Of course, and that's normal. Let me ask you one thing back to, if he has a specific weekend that he has
mhm.
his daughter. If he doesn't take her that weekend, do you allow him to take her the next weekend, or do you say, this is your weekend, take it or leave it. Next weekend is mine so that I can make my plans, and then you can get her back, in 2 weeks from now. When it is your weekend again? Do you do that, or are you really flexible with him?
Well, he never asked for them, or if it's not his
Okay.
weekend, for sure.
Okay.
So I don't have to say now. There's times have traded him, mostly on my part, because um, there was like a family event, and I was like, "Hey, can I get her your weekend, and then you can have her like the next 2 weekends?" And he's agreed. But if he doesn't pick her up one weekend, he just picks back up on his weekend that he's supposed to in the 2 weeks. So he'll go 3 weeks without seeing
All
her.
right, because just for it to be easier for you, you can't really control whether he picks her up or not. But if you are firm on your weekends, what I did was I would print out a calendar and highlight, for the next 2 or 3 months, these are your days. And then if you can't, or there's
Hmm.
something more interesting that you want to do, that's fine. But the next week is mine. I make plans with my child on those weekends. And if you want to see your child again, then pick her back up on the weekend that is yours, so that he
Yeah.
can't disturb your life that much, or
Right.
mess up her schedule that much. She knows clearly, these weekends are with my mom. We're going to do whatever. It's not like, oh, wait, it was this weekend. Oh, wait, it's not that weekend. Just so that she has, that structure. And so that he recognizes, if I don't pick her up tomorrow, it's not like I'm going to get to see her, nope, I'm going to have to wait, because that is the rule, and I'm going to have to live with it.
Yes.
So that gives you a
Yeah.
little more control. And that's not being mean or
No.
withholding. That's just having boundaries and structure that your daughter deserves, and so do you.
Yes, and I found like structure, although he doesn't go by and he doesn't like it, but keeps us sane,
Right.
me and my girls, a little more sane than to like, if it was up to him, he'll be jumping up and going, doing all this stuff. And it's just like, no, like, this is what it is. And, at times on his weekend, if he's like, oh, can I pick her up Saturday? Okay, that's fine. Cause I know she
Right.
wants to see her dad. And so she wants to spend time with him. And so I'll
Right.
allow that. But at the same time, like, okay, well then it's not going to be till
Right.
11 a.m. Or it's not going to be until, because I'm not going to get up on my Saturday extra early just because you're an early bird. No, sir. And so there's still some, and like, okay, you still have to bring her back at the same time. And so sometimes, a lot of times he asked for her to come back early Sunday. So I'm like, that's fine, because most of the time I'm on Sundays, I'm just doing stuff around the house, or either way, whatever I do, I'm used to them always being with me anyways. So it's weird that she's not more than it is.
I feel the same way. I would hate to argue with my ex about him keeping his son or not taking his son, because I had my child and I planned on having my child with me at all times. And
Hmm.
it felt gross to argue about not having him. I'm like, I'm happy to
Yes.
have him all the time. It's not about me. I love having him. It's
Right.
about the relationship that you guys have to have together. So if you don't take him one weekend, I mean, I had him because I wanted him, so I'm fine having him every
Right.
weekend with me. It's so that that situation makes it tricky, and I always hated those arguments because I don't want to argue about not having my child because I want my
Yeah.
child. And so that's an interesting dynamic in that whole situation. Just kind of like you said,
Yes.
you're used to having them. I'm okay
Yeah.
having her. I want to
Right.
have them.
Right.
So, but yes, I think that once he understands and is clear that you have the boundaries, that your boundaries are set, it'll avoid you having to have the argument and knowing I'm not going to argue because he's clear that these are the boundaries, and so I don't need to rehash it every other weekend or remind him or whatever, because this is the rule and that's that. And it's almost the end of the year. It's always a great time to put things into practice. If hey, since it's a new year, here's just a reminder of the child support. The child visitation. And heck, if you want to throw the child support in there too, throw that in there
Yeah.
too. It doesn't hurt to remind them, hey, by the way, your child eats. So how about sending
Yeah.
some money this way?
Yeah. Exactly.
So excellent.
Oh.
Is there any questions that you have for me, or any more thoughts that you'd like to share?
Just it's been a hard process. It took a lot of tears and pain and therapy
Yes,
to
therapy.
to get through this. And I know that whatever he did in our marriage to mess it up, and I say that because there was cheating and abuse and things like that, but
Right,
I know that in my heart, like, I really did love him, and I tried, and I gave it more than what I should have. And everybody's like, you gave more than what anybody should have,
right,
and you put up with a lot more than you should have. So it was hard, but especially loving someone and having to leave them, because you wanted to love yourself more, and you knew
right,
that you were worth more than that. And I knew at some point, okay, I just can't keep doing this. And so it's been a hard journey, and there still brings some pain at times when, like, when I first seen him with his girlfriend, that was a jab.
right,
When I seen they got a new car, that was a jab.
right,
But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not basing my life off of them. My time will come, because I've
absolutely,
done a lot within the separation. I've gotten my own place when me and my girls were living in one room.
right,
And, I know these are simple things that I've done. Like, I bought my furniture in cash. I bought my washer and dryer in cash and paid in full.
right.
I took care of my three girls
Well, I,
for
I
the last,
disagree that any of that is simple. That is you, providing and getting it done. That's
yeah,
every single one of those things is a big deal. Getting out of your mother's house and being able to provide for the girls without, his support or minimal support is a big
yeah,
deal.
Yeah.
Not trying not to get yourself in debt and paying things cash is a big deal as a
Yes.
single parent. Absolutely. So all of those are big deal things. Yes, they are.
Yes.
Um, you can pat yourself on the back and you can take, a bow for those. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think sometimes I don't give myself enough credit,
Yeah. I mean, if you were to talk to the you of, even a year ago, would you envision where you are now? Did you think you could do what you have done up until this point a year ago?
It, yeah, no, there's a lot of growth, a lot of
Right.
achievements, hard
Absolutely.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it takes. I mean, it takes work and it takes the strength of will to push yourself forward and to, accept it is what it is. It was what it was, but I have a whole future in front of me. I have many more chapters to live in my life. That was
Yes.
one of them, and I'm going to, face forward, move forward. That's always the
Yes.
point is moving upwards and forward.
Yes, agree. I think that's, like you said, you just accept things the way they are and know what you can change or what you can control.
Right,
I can't control what he does. I can't make him want to be there for anybody or make him be a nice guy but, do I sit there and argue with him? No. Do I stoop to his level and do things? And it's I'm only will argue with him about the girls, and then some of that have stopped trying
right,
to even do that because if you're not going to love them the way you should as a dad, then there's nothing I can do about it. They will
right.
see in time, and I'm just have to be here to hold them and get them through that emotion and the mentally, physically, emotionally is what I have to be there for them.
Absolutely.
So
And that's the perfect way to see it. I will give everything that I can give, and I'm not going to I can't control, so I'm not going to waste energy on
yes,
what you can do or don't do, because that I'm going to handle what I can handle. I'm going to do it all, everything that I can. And if you help, absolutely, that's great. And if you don't, I got it covered.
yes, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with me. Um, it sounds like you are absolutely moving forward and upward, and that you have a very bright future for you and your girls. I think it's going to be very positive because you are definitely
Yeah.
in the right mind frame to move forward in a positive way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for being on, for, having me on here. And it's been kind of therapeutic to be up here, talking about it. And
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I hope that I did help you think about things in maybe a different perspective, even though you were in a very good, headspace.
yeah.
So maybe I validated, if I could, validated that you are absolutely heading in the right way. So thank you so much.
Yes.
I really did have a lovely time talking to you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode, and a special thanks to Andrea for sharing with us. If you'd like to share your own chapter checkup, please reach out to me on Instagram at heavy_pages_podcast. And don't forget to download your copy of the chapter checklist. Well, that's going to be it for this episode. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can always find me on Instagram at heavy_pages_podcast. And if you found this episode interesting, please consider clicking on that 5-star rating and following so you are notified when the next episode drops. As always, thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the pages of life can be heavy, but you don't have to turn them alone.